Hi, this is Jim with JP Reacts, where you come to learn and see reactions about what politicians say so you can have better conversations at home and online. Today, we're going to be looking at the first speech that President-elect Biden gave after he was declared the winner in Delaware after this presidential election that just got wrapped up. So if you want to see what he said, stay tuned after this. Okay, so the first part, we're gonna jump right in and see what he said right off the bat. This first section is right from the beginning of his speech.
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation, 74 million.
So he was pretty excited. He talked about his victory and how he won. Currently, as of right now, I'm looking at the NBC website, and they're giving him 279 electoral votes. You need 270 to win. Basically, they are not calling Arizona and Georgia, which other places have, which would bring him up to 306. He's also not called our North Carolina and Alaska. Alaska is most likely going for President Trump. North Carolina is leaning that way, although there is some outstanding votes. But he also mentioned about how he had received the most votes ever for a presidential candidate, which is true. As of right now, he's sitting at a little bit over 75,700,000 votes, which will put him way over the top. There are also about 8 million votes left to be counted, expected to be counted. And a big chunk of those are from blue states, so he's likely to increase that as well. So this was a mammoth win for him. 306 votes is a lot for electoral votes, and then on top of that, his massive win in the popular vote as well pretty much shows that he won the election pretty handily. So let's look at the next part of this video and see what he decided to talk about.
What I must admit has surprised me. Tonight, we're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow. Bring a better day.
So in this part of the video, he's talking about being so happy about the celebrations all around the country and all around the world. You probably have seen that there have been, on the news, that there have been some celebrations in many of the big cities across the United States. There's video of that. There's video of celebrations outside the White House. And then there's also video of celebrations across the world in cities, in capitals and cities across the world. So it's been a pretty big impact on the world, and basically his election has been well received both at home and abroad. So let's see what his next part of this speech was all about.
I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States.
So this next part of his speech, he's talking about how he doesn't see the country as red states or blue states, but all of Americans. He has said this before, but it's also a callback, which is a video you should probably that you might want to go back into the archives and look for, the 2004 Democratic National Convention when then Senator Obama gave the keynote address, and the big concluding part of it was talking about how there's not a red America or a blue America, there's just the United States of America. It's a really good speech, and it's very patriotic and moving, so I would definitely recommend going to watch it, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. It's very patriotic speech. So let's see what the next part of this speech from President-elect Biden had to say.
They're my heart. Jill's a mom, a military mom, an educator. And she has dedicated her life to education. But teaching isn't just what she does, it's who she is. For American educators, this is a great day for y'all. You're going to have one of your own in the White House. And Jill's going to make a great first lady. I'm so proud of her.
So in this part, he mentioned a little bit about education policy. There's been a lot of controversy with the Trump administration, specifically Secretary DeVos, who's the Secretary of the Department of Education, on her scaling back on especially sexual assault protections and other types of protections for minorities and people at risk at universities and colleges across the country. So this will be a major step back in the direction of protecting students. So I think that's where he was going. He's going with this part of the conversation. So it's a pretty big deal. A lot of students will feel safer now that some of those protections get put back in. So let's see what the next part is all about.
Everything. And all those who supported us, I'm proud of the campaign we built and ran. I'm proud of the coalition we put together, the broadest and most diverse coalition in history. Democrats, Republicans, independents, progressives, moderates, conservatives, young, old, urban, suburban, rural, gay, straight, transgender, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. I mean it, especially those moments, and especially for those moments where this campaign was at its lowest ebb. The African-American community stood up again for me.
So this part of the conversation was talking about the diversity in the electorate and the people that voted for him and the people that are coming to Washington as Democrats. Basically, if you look at the demographics of the two parties right now, it's a pretty distinct difference. The Democratic Party in representation has been trending more and more to a more diverse coalition. It obviously still has white Americans, but also has other people of color, Black Americans, Hispanic, Indian, Asian, all kinds of Native Americans. Basically, it's a broad spectrum of the United States. Whereas the Republican Party has trended towards more of a white coalition of representatives and voters. It's becoming more and more, as time has moved on, a higher and higher percentage of voters and the elected officials have been white, and specifically white men. So that's what he was referring to with the diversity and the coalitions of each of the parties. So let's check out this next part of this speech. It's he's building up here.
You who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself, but now let's give each other a chance. It's time to put away the harsh rhetoric, lower the temperature, see each other again, listen to each other again. And to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as our enemies. They are not our enemies. They are Americans. They're Americans.
So this is another very important point that he was making. He was really focusing in on the divisions within the country. I don't know about you, but I've seen it that a lot of our conversations around politics have become very divisive and very what I would say is not in a healthy way. It's more of attack and counterattack versus having a conversation to try to see if you can come to some sort of compromise. Every group is in their corner, and this, it's not equal between the sides, but each group has their members that are really entrenched in their ideas and don't want to move away from it. So he really wants us to move away from seeing us as each other as enemies and more as people to work with to come to common ground and come up with some compromises so that we can move the country forward. So with that being said, let's see what the next part of this speech was about.
Campaign is over. What is the will of the people? What is our mandate? I believe it's this. Americans have called upon us to marshal the forces of decency, the forces of fairness, to marshal the forces of science and the forces of hope in the great battles of our time. the battle to control the virus, the battle to build prosperity, the battle to secure your family's health care, the battle to achieve racial justice and root out systemic racism in this country, and the battle to save our planet by getting climate under control.
Okay, so this part of the speech got a little bit of policy. These speeches typically don't have a ton of policy in it, but he really focused in on what he's going to really be all about during his first term. Obviously, the first and foremost is getting control of the coronavirus. Without getting control of that, there's really no point in talking about anything else. And then after that, or at the same time, is recovering the economy. The economy has been hard hit with a lot of these shutdowns, people afraid to go outdoors. It's really hurt a lot of small businesses and people are out of work. So he's really going to put together a plan to stimulate the economy and move the country forward. He also mentioned health care. Now there is a court case where the Trump administration is trying to get the Affordable Care Act thrown out. We talked about this in one of the debate videos, where a lot of the protections that are in the Affordable Care Act will be going with it. So healthcare is a priority, either if it gets thrown out, then starting something new again, I guess, or building on the Affordable Care Act so if it stays intact. He also talked about racial justice, which has been a main component of his election campaign, and really focusing on helping close the divide and close the gap, not only in the wealth and education, but also closing the gap between people and making sure that we are hearing each other, and institutional racism and systematic racism is moved out of the country, and we continue to move towards social racial equality in this country. Last, he talked about the crisis of the climate change. It's a major part of what the next couple presidents are probably going to have to deal with. Climate change is real. It has already been affecting this country. We've been losing billions of dollars for more intense storms. This year, there have been more storms than ever in the hurricane season. They've gone through all the names. They're going through alternate names at this point. So climate change is real, and it's definitely going to have an impact on his presidency. And then we circled back around to the virus. He said, and it actually came out today, as of this recording, he's going to announce a COVID task force that's going to be 100% based on the science and helping us move towards controlling the virus. First and foremost, what you guys, anybody that's watching this can do is wash your hands. These are simple things. Wash your hands, keep social distance, 6 feet apart, and wear a mask when you're out in public. Right now, until we get a strong vaccine, which was also announced could be a possibility at the beginning of next year, that's what we can do as a country to try to get control of the virus. So it was a short part, but it covered a lot of territory. Let's talk about, let's see what the next part of his speech was about.
The refusal of Democrats and Republicans to cooperate with one another. It's not some mysterious force beyond our control. It's a decision, a choice we make. And if we can decide not to cooperate, then we can decide to cooperate. And I believe that this is part of the mandate given to us from the American people. They want us to cooperate in their interest. And that's the choice I'll make. And I'll call on Congress, Democrats and Republicans alike, to make that choice with me. The American story is about slow yet steadily widening the opportunities in America. And make no mistake, too many dreams have been deferred for too long. We must make the promises of the country real for everybody, no matter their race, their ethnicity, their faith, their identity, or their disability.
Okay, so in this part, he was really talking about, again, cooperation and making sure that we work together to come to different conclusions and move the country forward. This is going to anger some people on both sides of the aisle. A lot of Democrats, and especially the progressives and liberals, don't feel like the Republicans negotiate in good faith and are willing to move forward, and they're not happy with the way the short-term gains, but President-elect Biden will definitely take gains in the right direction if it moves towards the ultimate goal. And I agree with that. If you have an ultimate goal, you might not necessarily get from where you are all the way to that goal on one shot. But if you make progress towards that goal, I think that's a good way to do it. The Affordable Care Act was like that. It's a step towards the goal of universal health care. It wasn't all the way to universal health care. So that's kind of what he's talking about in this part of the conversation. So let's talk. I want to talk about one last part of his speech before we wrap up.
I've always believed, many of you heard me say it, I've always believed we can define America in one word: possibilities. That in America, everyone should be given an opportunity to go as far as their dreams and God-given ability will take them. You see, I believe in the possibilities of this country. We're always looking ahead to an America that's freer and more just, ahead to an America that creates jobs with dignity and respect, ahead of America that cures diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's, ahead to an America that never leaves anyone behind, ahead of America that never gives up, never gives in.
Okay, so in this last part of his speech, he talked about helping people have equality, and in the long and short of it is, Democrats and Joe Biden in particular really are talking about equality of opportunity, not of outcome. They don't look for everybody to have the same outcome in life. They want everybody to have the same opportunities in life. So same opportunity to health care, same opportunity to education, same opportunity to a new job, a good job, so they can live a sustainable life. That's what they're talking about when we're talking about equality of opportunity, and that's what this section was all about. So let's wrap this up. As you can see, the speech was very high energy from President-elect Biden. It's going to take me a little while to get those words out until he's actually President Biden. But we covered a lot of ground, and hopefully you got a lot out of this and are understanding a little bit more about what President-elect Biden plans to do when he takes the oath of office January 20th. He has a lot of work to do. The country has a lot of work to do, and there's really a lot of stuff going on that need to be taken care of. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. You learned a lot. If you did, please like the video. If you didn't like it or you felt like you didn't really learn anything, you can dislike it and tell me where I screwed up in the comments. I'm happy to it. I also highly encourage you to subscribe so you can get the next video when it comes out. We're probably going to cover Vice President-elect Harris's speech on this same night. So look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, have a great day.